the most meaningful night in sports. Athletes and coaches from all over North America have come to St. Louis to be recognized not just for their talent, but for their class.
You don't always remember the score, you don't always remember, those types of things, but you sure remember the people.
Tonight we shine the spotlight on people who inspire and persevere.
I've never been one to quit something. If I start something, I want to, see it through.
And some very familiar faces are here to be honored for their extraordinary character. It's a celebration of those who set an example of sportsmanship in their tradition of Stan the Man Musial, one of baseball's greatest players and ambassadors.
From the historic Stiefel Theater in St. Louis, it's the Musial Awards, presented by Maryville University. Here's our host, Mike Bush.
Thank you very much, and welcome to a celebration of the year's greatest moments of sportsmanship and class acts in sports. Named for Stan the Man Musial, the Musial Awards recognize all he embodied: kindness, selflessness, integrity, civility. Because of what they represent and their power to inspire, you could say these are the most important awards in sports. From Hall of Famers to rec-level players, good sports from around the nation have gathered here in St. Louis to be honored for the character they've shown. Among them, Caden Whaley. Leave it to our youngest honoree to give us all a heartwarming lesson in sportsmanship.
There you go.
Sometimes the warmest place you can be is on cold ice. Just ask the Georgetown Titans, who've made the 90-minute trip to Hagerstown, Maryland, to take on the Hagerstown Junior Bulldogs.
Go get it, go get it, go get it!
It's rec-level hockey, where if they emphasize anything, it's that winning is in everything.
There you go, good save.
Kids have fun when they win, but the goal at this level with these kids was pretty much to get them all familiar with the sport and to have a good time.
Perhaps no player enjoys it more than Hagerstown goalie Caden Whaley.
I started skating since I was 5. You need to get the positioning down, time your butterflies right. There's a whole lot that's challenging.
Caden's showing butterflies, buddy.
And when in doubt, his goalie coach, Caden's dad, is always within shouting distance.
Well, the first thing is keep your stick down. He has a tendency to hold his stick up.
Caden clearly loves it, but as everybody found out, his passion is just secondary to his compassion. You see, the last time these two teams saw each other, the Titans showed up one man short.
Right when I came in through the door, my coach, he announced that our goalie was sick and would anyone like to substitute.
9-year-old Leopold Hilton is a forward. He's used to trying to score goals, not stop them, but he volunteered.
We melted. My husband and I were thinking, how on earth?
And what did you know about being a hockey goalie?
Nothing.
In fact, at the time, Leopold wasn't even sure how to put on the equipment.
I think you put your shin guard on first.
And when the game began, it was pretty clear that while Leopold had the will, he did not have the skill.
So in the first period, Leopold wasn't doing that well.
We were putting the hurt on him pretty bad.
The game had barely started, and it was all but over.
Yeah, they scored 7 in the first period.
How many?
7.
As the period was coming to an end, it wasn't surprising that Leopold was feeling pretty down. But so was someone else.
Leopold was a brand new goalie, and I kind of felt bad that he was doing pretty bad.
So when the first period buzzer sounded, instead of skating over to huddle with his teammates, Caden took a detour.
He skated right past our bench and right over it, and I almost missed it.
I went over, tapped him on the shoulder, and I helped him on the stance and positioning.
That's right, a Bulldog helped a Titan with a 3-minute goalie clinic.
first I was like, why is he here? But after he helped me, I realized he was trying to help.
It was just very heartwarming, very warm, very nice.
This wasn't the first time Caden showed his heart. His family used to live in Georgia, and once at an Atlanta Braves baseball game, Caden caught a foul ball and gave it to a stranger, a young girl with cancer.
He got up, walked over to her, and handed her the ball, came over and sat down, and his face was bright red, smiles, and everybody, all the fans just exploded.
I thought it was the right thing to do.
After he got a few pointers, Leopold got better. He only allowed 4 more goals the rest of the game.
It made me feel a lot happier.
The clinic lasted only 3 minutes, but the lesson, well, it lasted much longer.
We can learn from their stance on life, on we don't have to be enemies. Life is much better when you work together.
Thank you for helping me, Caden, by being a kind person.
One young man showing that the most important piece of equipment a goalie can have is his heart.
I was just very proud, very proud.
It's a Musial Award tradition to have those on the receiving end acts of sportsmanship return the favor. So who better to present tonight's first award than the fill-in goalie for the Georgetown Titans? Please welcome Leopold Hilton. And accepting the Musial Award, here's Caden Whaley. You can see all of tonight's honoree interviews in their entirety at musialawards.com. Straight ahead, the golfer who called a penalty on herself, even though it cost her the state championship. And later, 2 Baseball Hall of Famers will be honored for their character and selflessness.
Maryville University is honored to be the presenting sponsor of the Musial Awards. We're proud to play a role in celebrating sportsmanship in America and the legacy of Stan the Man. The event and its honorees inspire all of us to be good sports. So on behalf of Maryville, the 3rd fastest growing private university in the nation, enjoy the Musial Awards, one of the great nights in all of sport.
The way one reacts when no one is looking, well, that can be a true test of honesty and integrity. Our next honoree passed with flying colors, making a decision that others in her shoes might not have made. Kate Winya had the courage to do the right thing, even when it wasn't the easy thing. Sioux Falls, South Dakota is almost 1,500 miles from the nearest coastline. But you don't always need an ocean to rise like the tide.
Okay, ready?
Kate Winya has been making waves on golf courses there as far back as she can remember. She and her siblings spent more time in the sand trap than the sandbox.
I started playing when I was 3.
Golf's a family affair for us, so they're my main golfing partners and have been for the last 20 years.
By the time she was in high school, she was already one of the top players in the state. And the most important club in her bag was her state of mind.
Definitely outgoing, always smiling, friendly.
I'm so excited. She doesn't really get down when she misses a bad shot.
The only time she did get down? When her playing partners hit a bad shot.
Nice.
Sometimes I have to get on her to concentrate because she's always so concerned about the other girls in her group.
Her junior year at Sioux Falls Christian was all about action, not distraction. In the state finals, she was down by 7 strokes with just 6 holes to play.
She proceeded to play great golf the last 6-7 holes. I think went 1 or 2 under par and won it by 1 shot on the last hole.
What is it like when you're a junior and you are the state champion? What did that make you feel like?
It was crazy. It was a feeling like I hadn't felt. Like I was really excited.
What no one knew at the time is what she would do for an encore.
Okay.
In golf, nothing's more important than your follow-through. And in her senior year, Kate and Sioux Falls Christian made it back to the state finals. The difference this time, she came to the final hole with a 5-stroke lead.
I felt like I started playing really well, and I started noticing that I was starting to get a lead, and that was kind of exciting going into those last few holes, knowing that I had the state championship.
Making things even sweeter, with Kate's final putt, Sioux Falls Christian would take the team championship as well. All this after their longtime coach decided this would be his final year.
She putted out, and I knew that she won as an individual. I knew that we won as a team, and then people were just, congratulating us.
It was really fun. We watched her from the green and let her get engulfed by her coach and teammates as soon as she putted out on the last hole. And she came and hugged us, and she was very excited, crying.
In all the excitement, Kate still needed to sign her scorecard and then pick up her trophy.
We're worried about getting the scorecards in and getting it all tabulated and then starting with the awards presentation.
Then everything that was right took a wrong turn.
Then they put the score up on the big board, and I had my own card that I keep for myself, and I hadn't finished that yet, and I was finishing it, and I was adding that up, and I was like, that is not the same score.
The rules of golf are harsh but clear. If you submit an incorrect scorecard, you're disqualified.
Keep in mind, the only person who even realized there was a problem was Kate. She had a 5 and not a 4 on the 18th hole, but either way, she would have won by several strokes. But she learned from her parents staying silent was not an option.
That's just how they taught me. You tell the truth. If you know something is wrong, then you tell the truth. There isn't really another option.
Kate came and tapped me on the shoulder, and she said, "Coach, I need to talk to you right now." And I kind of shrugged her off a little bit and said, "Okay, no, Coach, I need to talk to you now. I did something wrong."
In this case, the truth hurt. Self-reporting the mistake not only cost Kate the state title, but her teammates as well.
My heart was broken. I thought I had let them down. And so all I could say was, I'm sorry. I remember seeing my team, and I just was just crying pretty hard and just kept saying, I'm sorry.
I just felt awful for her, and I tried to be the comforter as much as I could.
Comfort did come when Kate's story went viral. No, her name wouldn't be etched on the state championship trophy, but her act of integrity etched its way into the hearts of people across the country. There was even this tweet from the greatest golfer of all time, Jack Nicklaus. Congrats to this young lady for using golf as a vehicle to teach us all life lessons on honesty and integrity.
I just remember calling my dad and just basically screaming.
She was stunned and taken back that anybody would take the time, to recognize her like that.
I was wondering if you could sign my team's picture.
And he recognized her again in person when he traveled to Sioux Falls for an exhibition round. Taking golf lessons can teach you to drive, chip, and putt.
Okay. We have a lot of green to work with. We're good.
But sometimes the greatest lesson of all comes after the clubs are put away.
I have young children, and it made me think of it. If they were to grow up and be in the same position and do the same thing, how proud I would be of them.
Certainly winning is wonderful, but who you are, your character, how you treat others, if you enjoy it, is much more important and lasting.
It's worth it to tell the truth. It's worth it to be honest.
Kate Winya showing us all that you don't have to win the trophy to be a champion.
I think the earth is a better place because of Kate Winya. What she did, every person should do.
Let's hear it for Kate Winya. No one knew that there was a mistake but you. So why did you think it was important to say something?
Just with the way that my parents raised me and how I know to act in life. If you know something's wrong and you know that it's not right, you need to say something.
Up next, why a college basketball sharpshooter missed on purpose. The Musial Awards are brought to you by Maryville University. Many connections, one you at maryville.edu. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. And Southern Glazers, we are family. The Musial Awards salute Florida State softball coach Lonnie Alameda. Last spring, Coach Alameda led the Seminoles to their first ever national title. But that's just a bonus to what makes her so deserving of the Musial Award. At the College World Series, when Oregon's bus broke down, Coach Alameda and FSU gave them a ride to the stadium. And then when Oregon infielder Mia Camuso left her jersey on that bus, Coach Alameda hopped in a rental car and personally drove it back to the stadium. It's that approach that's made her a champion and a role model in her sport. As you've been watching all these stories tonight, sitting in your seat, what's going through your mind tonight?
Just that the future of sport's in a good spot. There's some young ones that are making good decisions, and that's what us as coaches want to do, is be able to give to the kids to be able to do the right thing, and they're already doing it, so that's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. But it was a sophomore guard from the University of Iowa who provided perhaps the most touching and emotional example of graciousness and respect. In February, Jordan Bohannon was approaching the Hawkeyes record for consecutive free throws made. The mark was held by Chris Street, an Iowa basketball legend who was tragically killed in a car accident during his junior season. That was in 1993. 25 years later, in an amazing display of selflessness, Jordan Bohannon sacrificed his own moment of glory for a greater purpose.
For the Chris Street tie, on the way, good. 34 consecutive free throws by Jordan Bohannon ties Chris Street's mark set back in 1992-93.
Chris Street put himself in the Iowa record books in what would be his last college game. Saturday at Duke, his 2 free throws gave him 34 straight, a new Iowa record.
Chris Street was a great player, but an even better person. Sort of typified the characteristics of what you want as a coach, as a parent, as a fan. So when he was taken from us, it had a lasting impact.
Christopher's gym was built probably 20 years ago. Trophy case here with some pictures and some stats. And this is his last game against Duke, his score sheet where he set the record in free throws. He was 2 for 2. That's all he needed, I guess, to set and tie and break it. So
Chris never got to shoot the next free throw. And so who knows what that streak would have been.
For several games, he just kept making them. So we knew, it was going to be a good possibility that he would break it.
Here is a chance for Jordan Bohannon to become the all-time consecutive made free throw shooter in Iowa basketball history. He tied Chris Street in the first half at 34. He gets the 1-and-1 here to break the record. Takes flight, and it's way short. Way short.
How about that?
Those would have been 2 big free throws, too. 73-65, Iowa.
after he missed it, Patty looked at me and said, "Did he miss that on purpose?" And I said, "I don't think so. I think he just fouled hard." Well, it was obviously, when you look back, it was he'd missed it on purpose. I mean, he's such a pure shooter.
For him, it wasn't even about the attention. He didn't need any of that. If no one ever found out about it, he wouldn't have cared. The remembrance of who it was for and who should really be holding that record and who wasn't allowed to further that record is what meant more to Jordan than anything.
The game ends, we're walking off the floor, and there are Chris's mom and dad, and it was really, really emotional for them. So you have 2 Iowa kids, very similar qualities, grew up in Iowa, on the Hawks, and one honoring the other.
I hope he didn't miss it on purpose, to be quite honest with you. He did? Yeah, well, that's...
Jordan, we didn't want him to.
I
didn't know. But it's the kind of person he was. But
Well, thanks, Jordan, but by golly, next time when you get up there, just go on. I'll say that. Just go on. That's all right.
Hopefully I can get to that streak again and get to 34. I think that'd be pretty special to do it again, but I know that record deserves to be held in his name, and it should be forever.
We are honored tonight that Chris Street's parents wanted to be here to present the next Musial Award. Mike and Patty Street. Here's the junior guard from Iowa, Jordan Bohannon.
The past year has been unreal, the amount of reach it's got throughout the entire world, and like I said, I didn't do it for myself. These people next to me are one of the most genuine and heartwarming people you guys will ever meet in your life if you get the chance to, and I just forever feel close to their son, and I'm just happy it all worked out.
A 99-year-old nun becomes the memorable star of the NCAA Final Four. Still to come, how she set an example we can all root for.
And then came March Madness, and a 98-year-old nun burst on the scene.
There's no single title, team chaplain, there's no single title that can quantify what Sister Jean means to us, the university. She spent, now 99 years of her life serving others, making other people's lives better. What the country saw and how the country embraced her, and the world, I don't want her to get mad at me, the world, how embraced her. She just brings you in.
After winning the Missouri Valley Conference Championship here in St. Louis, the Ramblers of Loyola University embarked on a magical run. Exuding charm, wit, and spunk, the Loyola team chaplain became a media darling and a college basketball sensation. And yet, despite being thrust into the spotlight and having to deal with a crush of attention, Sister Jean maintained her smile, humility, and sense of humor.
Once you just get around her, you just start feeling happy, you start feeling good about yourself. There's something about her, she's just has an aura.
For her to be doing what she's doing at her age is an inspiration to everybody.
Her sportsmanship, how she handled the humbleness that she handled all of this, the grace of which she handled all this. Just so gracious, so welcoming, constantly making other people feel good to be around her. And to get the Stan Musial Award, what a great match.
And now to accept the 2018 Musial Award for Extraordinary Character, here is Sister Jean.
First of all, I wanted to say to you before I talk about my acceptance speech, I wanted to tell you how happy I am to be here with all of you and to see how crowded this wonderful historic building is tonight. And the people in St. Louis seem to have a certain kind of spirit that we need to share in other parts of the country too, because I think when you have certain... The basketball team can tell you, I never say anything unless I believe in it, unless it's the truth. So you've got the truth right now. But we have felt the hospitality and the courtesy and just the enthusiasm that you show, and even what these little people who are with us tonight have shown. So I needed to say that, and I also needed to say that I just felt it was important for me to come to let other people who eventually will get this award to be present with you when the award is given. and I think that that's important too.
You want to read your remarks?
And it is my pleasure that I join all of you this evening, and I thank the selection committee for choosing me for this award. And along with all the other awardees, I promise to live up to the award named for the Stan the Man. I promise to inspire selflessness, integrity, and civility in sports and in society. And I have to say, I would be very remiss if I did not say, go Ramblers.
Coming up, a story of perseverance. How a young athlete who couldn't swim led his swim team to state. And later, the hug felt around the nation. Welcome back to the Musial Awards, presented by Maryville University and produced by the St. Louis Sports Commission and the National Sportsmanship Foundation.
He won gold and bronze at the 2016 Rio Olympics. Please welcome American swimmer David Glover.
I'm really pleased to be here tonight to present the next Musial Award to Gerald Hodges. Gerald's sportsmanship comes in the form of remarkable determination and perseverance as a high school swimmer. Having missed the Olympic team 3 times before I finally qualified in 2016, I understand what a privilege it is to be able to compete. I also understand the responsibility we all bear to give young athletes a chance to prove themselves on the field of play. Gerald has more than proven himself. He showed what's possible when someone is given a chance, no matter their ability. And he demonstrated with his work ethic and resolve, you can take head-on the risk of failure and reach great heights.
If you've ever driven through Texas, you know it just keeps on going. And the same can be said for 18-year-old Gerald Hodges.
The philosophy in our household is you don't quit. If you commit, you do it.
Hodges was a member of the swim team at Arlington Seguin High School. The school motto, where excellence is the standard, except when it comes to swimming.
My first year had 4 kids on the team.
Take your mark. Yep.
Their tradition had no definition.
It was hard knowing that the only way that I could get anyone on the team is to just beg.
On his list of favorite sports, Gerald preferred free throws to freestyle.
Football, basketball, we did track and field, I ran the 400.
Swimming didn't even make a splash until his mom started dropping a few hints.
I had discouraged him from football. I had pulled him out. I told him, you will not be getting the concussions. Your brain is your vehicle and your ticket to where you go in life. So we're not doing this.
Take your mark. Yep.
So when the coach came begging, he and Gerald hit it off.
Really good guy. He was fun to talk to. We just hit it off. You know, he was a nice, funny, hilarious guy. He was like, you can try it. If you don't like it, you can always go back.
And Gerald signed up.
11-8. I like it.
But at his freshman tryout, Gerald nearly drowned. It's not often that someone tries out for the swim team that doesn't know how to swim.
No holding back. So I push off wrong, and I just start moving my arm. Next thing I know, I'm underwater.
90% certain I was gonna have to jump in. I mean, it was bad. It was pretty bad.
A little bit of watching your head go up and down and up and down.
Stretch it out.
Some thought Coach Wiedemann had been breathing in a little too much chlorine, because instead of cutting Gerald, he commended him.
It probably would have been prudent to get rid of him. But there was something so different about his mentality and his work ethic.
And I've never been one to quit something. If I start something, I want to, see it through.
Good. Gerald already knew that the harder he worked, the more talented he'd get. You see, in addition to being an excellent student, He plays the piano and the cello.
A lot of my family and my aunts and my uncles have always been musically gifted or art gifted. They can draw, things like that. So that's just always been a part of my life.
And the three most important things in music also apply to swimming. Practice, practice, practice. Eventually, Gerald started to compete. If you can call coming in last place every race competing.
Keeping those fingers closed.
And so no one was expecting much at this year's high school regional meet when Gerald had to anchor Seguin's 200 medley relay.
Ready? Yep.
Sure, the team was improved, but to go to the state tournament, they had to finish in the top 2.
I had definitely written off in my head that we were going to make top 2.
And by the time Gerald jumped in the pool, Seguin was in a familiar spot. 6th place with just 50 meters to go. But then the kid who once didn't know what to do with his arms and legs started swimming with his heart.
I did see a different gear that day.
He passed one guy, then another.
I was like, oh my God, we might actually have a chance at this.
It wasn't until about 5 yards out that I saw the person to my left that was in first place at the time. I was like, oh snap, I gotta catch him.
And in that moment, Gerald Hodges sent his team to state.
Yeah! I started screaming and crying and just overwhelmed.
This is what I've been working for 4 years, this crazy, impossible dream to just go to state, you know, just to be there, to be one of the fastest. It was just amazing.
Inspiration comes from knowing that hard beginnings can lead to happy endings.
It means a lot to me because that's all I wanted to do, is just to inspire people and just to be able to help people in any way possible.
It shows that heart and mentality is the vast majority of success in sports and in life.
One young man showing that just trying can turn the unthinkable into the remarkable.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Arlington, Texas, Gerald Hodges.
Still to come, when buddies became bigger than baseball. And later, the Baseball Hall of Famers being honored for their class. The Musial Awards are brought to you by Maryville University. Many connections, one you at maryville.edu. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. And Southern Glazers, we are family. Musial Awards travel provided by Southwest Airlines.
It was the hug seen around the nation. You may not recall our next honoree's name, but you're likely familiar with what he did on the diamond. In June, Ty Kane gave us one of those defining moments of sportsmanship that resonate with so many. In simply wanting to console an opponent and friend, he reminded all of us that a little thoughtfulness and empathy can go a long way.
It seems winter is always approaching in Minnesota, which is why people there appreciate a warm heart.
Oh, that was the first game I played in?
Meet Jack Koken and Ty Kane.
Where'd you hit yours? Over there.
They may still be young, but they're old friends.
That's crazy.
Ty and Jack started with basketball when they were little.
For years, sports was the knot that tied their group of friends together, especially baseball.
It was super fun. We were actually pretty good in 13s. We won our section.
You couldn't meet a better group of guys. I mean, those are some of my best friends I still talk to this day.
They untangled in high school. Ty went to Mounds View, a public school, Jack to the smaller private Totino Grace. But their friendship didn't mean any less And when the two schools would meet in the playoffs, it meant a little more.
It's more of a rivalry for me personally. I get really nervous because I want to perform to the best of my ability when I play those guys.
And so it was in June of 2018, Mounds View and Totino Grace would have a date in the Minnesota High School sectional playoffs.
It was a really intense game. A lot of the players are feeling pretty tight.
It was a 13-inning, game that just nobody wanted to blink.
The pressure was on, and for a player trying to make an impression, there's nothing better than turning tension into jubilation. It was Jack who delivered the game-winning hit in the bottom of the 13th, a moment becoming a memory.
It was something I never felt before. That was my first walk-off in my entire baseball career, starting from when I was in T-ball. I couldn't believe it, like what just happened.
They're carrying him off the field and hog-piling him, and on the semifinal game, he's the hero.
No one was happier for Jack than Ty, but any loss, especially when in a big game, is tough to take.
He takes athletics and academics pretty seriously.
I do take them hard. I do not like losing.
What no one knew at the time is that Ty and Mounds View would change that setback into a comeback. Just a few days later, after the Mustangs clawed their way back, the two teams would meet again in a game that was winner take all.
Trip to state on the line. Totino hadn't been to state in a long time.
And this time, Ty was on the mound and in a groove.
He was pitching really well. We were struggling to hit off him, and both teams were playing really good defensively.
They placed 7 innings in high school, and Ty was throwing a 3-0 shutout with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. Totino Grace had one last chance, and that chance was Jack.
When I saw Jack, my heart really sank because I knew this could be that last at-bat. My main focus, of course, was on winning the game.
And that's exactly what he did. But more people remember what he did next. As his fellow players ran out of the field in celebration, Ty walked in the opposite direction to share a hug with his dejected friend.
I wanted him to know that he wasn't really in it alone. It wasn't his fault. I mean, there were 7 innings to the game.
At first, I didn't realize it was him. That was one of my other teammates, but to kind of look up and see Ty kind of consoling me and saying everything's okay, like it wasn't my fault or anything, that meant a lot for me personally because it took my mind off of like this was my last game.
Not everybody noticed until someone posted the video on social media.
I think people are craving kindness. I think it's an attribute that's kind of missing in the world.
It shows their friendship, it shows their character, it shows what they are like as a person.
As Ty and Mounds View advanced in the playoffs, Jack was in the stands supporting his friend. The Mustangs didn't win the state title, but the real winners don't always show up on the scoreboard.
You don't always remember the score, you don't always remember, those types of things, but you sure remember the people.
We all need a hug sometimes, and in this moment of sportsmanship, it went a long way in teaching us the meaning of friendship.
That's who Ty is as a person.
It's only appropriate that, of course, Ty's good friend is here to present the Musial Award. Let's welcome Jack Koken. And from Arden Hills, Minnesota, let's hear it for Ty Kane.
Straight ahead, baseball legends Ozzie Smith and Jim Thome, how they're Hall of Famers both on and off the field. Follow the Musial Awards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also nominate a remarkable act of sportsmanship and see all of this year's inspiring stories at musialawards.com. The Musial Awards salute Ozzie Smith. One of baseball's greatest shortstops is now making a difference in the sport of golf. As president of the Gateway PGA Reach Foundation, he's bringing golf to underprivileged young people and our nation's veterans.
He pours himself into everything he does with the same amount of energy and passion, and his commitment to what we've done with PGA Reach is just absolutely remarkable.
For me, growing up in South Central Los Angeles, I was never introduced to the game, so I felt that this was a great way for me to afford kids the opportunity to not only about the golf game itself, but the business of golf, and it gives them another opportunity.
And when you get an award with the name Musial on it, I know you and Stan were buddies. You got to know him very well. What does that mean to you?
It means everything. He is the standard bearer, and he's the standard by which all of us operate who's ever worn the birds on the bat know how important it is to represent that. And I'm very proud to have had the opportunity to play here for 15 wonderful years in front of the greatest people, greatest fans in the world. And it's the reason I make this place home.
And we're so glad you do. Ozzie Smith, congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing the Musial family, please welcome Stan's granddaughter, Lindsay Edmonds.
My family is thrilled that my grandfather's legacy continues, not only through this event, but also with the Stan Musial Lifetime Achievement Award, the highest award for sportsmanship. It's an honor to add Jim Thome to an esteemed list of recipients, including Joe Torre, Arnold Palmer, Cal Ripken Jr., and Jackie Joyner-Kersee. Jim, know that my grandfather would be so proud to know that you are receiving this award. Congratulations on entering the Hall of Fame, and thank you for being one of the all-time class acts in all of sports.
Jimmy Thome not only is a Hall of Fame hitter, but he's a Hall of Fame person. I mean that. If you get to know him, everybody that he meets, he'll stop and talk to everybody that he meets, and he treats them with a lot of respect.
He was just awesome. I loved watching him. I loved his spirit and the socks. All about the socks.
And I was a 1997 Junior Cleveland Indian of the day. And I got to sit in the dugout before the game and got to meet all the players. And Jim Thome, I had his t-shirt on. And at the time, he was my favorite player. And he came out and he autographed my shirt for me, and he came down and sat down with me in the dugout and sat and talked to me for a little bit about baseball, him and Sandy Alomar Jr. One of the greatest memories of my life, honestly.
Anybody that's in the Hall of Fame, you're a Hall of Famer, but obviously there's also that upper echelon maybe of Hall of Fame guys, and Jim's in that class of Hall of Fame guys. It's great to see great things happen to good people.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. One of the things that we struggle with the Musial Awards is we want to get the word out there. People need to know about this night and this award because it means so much. Yet, when you were called about this award, you accepted like that. How come?
Very quickly. First of all, I didn't cry during my speech, I just cried for that because I think the best part of this evening, and I'll get to your answer, is the love and the kindness in the room. You feel it. You genuinely feel it. I want to congratulate all the honorees. What great stories, what great people. To all the young kids. To all the young kids striving to be great, good luck. You guys are all doing great, and this award means so much. This is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I don't know how much I can say thank you for this. This will go in a special place.
Ladies and gentlemen, here they are, the recipients of the 2018 Musial Awards. And there you have it. On behalf of the St. Louis Sports Commission, thank you for joining us for the Musial Awards presented by Maryville University, and good night from Stiefel Theater in St. Louis.
For more on the Musial Awards, visit musialawards.com. Click on Honorees to see all of the stories and the interviews in their entirety.